So we didn't take the car around Indy, and thus for the race, for our starting position for the first day of the race, we didn't have one. So there were a lot of schools that did this, that didn't go around Indy. So basically what happened is the organizers on the first day of the race, they put all the schools' names who didn't go around the track in a hat basically, and drew by lottery what your starting position was. And we drew last. Here we are starting last place on the first day. And we were really excited because, you know, almost 2 years of effort, and here Sun Race is here, and we're ready to go, and the car's ready, we're lined up, and as all the cars are leaving, because everybody left in minute intervals, the first car left, then a minute later the second car, then a minute later the third car. We were 34th, so we had half an hour, at least a half an hour to kill.
Then we're off. The Pride Maryland, the University of Maryland. Good luck.
The University of Maryland's racing strategy was very dependent upon weather conditions, with the weather forecast calling for overcast skies during the morning at the beginning of the race and clear skies as the day wore on.
Our strategy for the day was that since getting out of Arlington, Texas, there are a lot of one-lane roads, we wanted to pass as many slow cars as possible in the beginning so we can get up with the fast cars, because we had a weather report saying that by 1 o'clock in the afternoon it was going to clear up and there was going to be sun. So we were counting on the sun to come out so we could use the sun as energy so we could drive the car. Until that point when it was cloudy, because we started off the day pretty cloudy, we would basically use a lot of battery trying to pass all the slow cars. So we started off, and sure enough, you know, we must have passed, in the first half an hour, we must have passed at least 20 cars. There were so many slow cars, and we were just passing them, and it was the greatest feeling to see our car pass all these slow cars. And we passed a lot of them, and we're waiting for the sun to come out. So 12 o'clock comes around, and there's no sun. At 12:30, no sun. You know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's still cloudy. Well, we called our weatherman back, and he said basically it's going to stay cloudy for the rest of the day. So when we got to the midday stop in Whitesboro, Texas, we were almost out of battery, and that's only half the day, because we went really fast to get out of Arlington and pass all the slow cars. So the rest of the day we went really slow. The sun came out in patches, and so it served, our strategy served its purpose for passing all the cars, and it was a great feeling.
Our car just didn't break. It just kept running. And actually, one of the best quotes I ever heard in the entire race was one of our veteran solar car racers compared solar car racing to yacht racing and said basically it's just intense boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. And that's really what it was. We were sitting in the van, we're bored out of our minds, and next thing you know, there goes the rear suspension, and we're off running out trying to fix it, and then get back in the van and get bored again. We were like so surprised, and we didn't really know what to do. We just jumped out, we jacked the car up, and just basically rebuilt the rear suspension in about 25 minutes. We had the array up, we were charging, and we had like 4 people holding the array, and 1 person sitting in the car, 2 people underneath the car, and you know, everyone yelling and screaming, people directing traffic. Once again, I mean, this is like what would be normally called a catastrophic failure. I mean, you have 3 wheels, one of them disappears, you're going to have problems. But what happened was that we had aerodynamic fairings, basically shark fin-like protrusions from our car in front and behind all of our wheels. And when the rear wheel collapsed, the car basically dropped onto these aerodynamic fairings, which, even though they were not designed to do so, took the entire load. But we only had 2 cars pass us during those 25 minutes and caught up to them by midday. And it was actually kind of impressive, really.
And although it was a cloudy day, it sort of broke open in the late afternoon, and we got a little sun at least, and our strategy seemed to be working. And well, let's put it this way. We started off 31st, and we finished off about 5th or 6th. I think that sums it up right there.
Vehicle preparation was an extremely important function both at the beginning and the end of each day's racing. Responsibility for this function was assigned to both the pit crew and the logistics crew.
At the beginning of each day and at the end of each day, it was kind of interesting watching each team run around like pack mules, fixing their cars for charging. They would unpack the car from the trailer, set up the array on the charging stand to charge the batteries. They would make minor repairs to the electrical and mechanical system components. They would set up extra charging sections, attach new sets of tires, attach peak power trackers, and once the morning charge period was up, the array group would attach the extra sections to the underside of the car.
Well, at the end of the day, we'd come in, and I'd be driving, and I'd drive in past the finish line. The logistic teams that had been set ahead had picked out a space for us, and they did a really great job. They had everything set up. They would direct me to where we had to go. Everybody in the pit crew and everybody would jump out of the cars. They would start getting the array up, and in the meantime, we had the extra sections were on the bottom, which we were going to use those to capture the reflected radiation off the road, but unfortunately there was a problem in the rules at scrutineering, so we scrapped that idea. But we still used those as an extra charging section. Essentially, we had the 8 square meters of the Earth's surface that we were allowed to use for the array. And for the charging, what we did, we basically tilted it on the diagonal and gained the extra space on the diagonal.
Strategy was a very important part of the program. In fact, we won a first place award for our strategy model, having moved from 34th to 6th place the first day, and then the next day moving up a couple more spots. Unfortunately, we couldn't sustain that throughout the race. We slipped back a little bit later, but that's a little bit of luck of the race. Our car was designed to be its best in good sunlight. And a few days we had good sunlight, a few days we had very, very heavy cloud cover, and so we did not do very well in those days, including the first day. Even though we did end up in 6th place the first day, we couldn't sustain the speed, whereas some of the basic designs, Michigan's for example, would do better in diffuse illumination than our particular vehicle. So it was a decision that we made right from almost from day one, that we would make a car that would go fast in sunlight and maybe have some sacrifice if it was going to be a little bit cloudy. Had it been 7 days of bright sunshine, we would have done well. Had it been 7 days of heavy rain, we would have done a lot worse. We had, as I say, 3 or 4 days of heavy cloud cover and rain. I think probably one of the high points for me was the last day when we went from Albert Lea up to the Minnesota Zoo, and it was a bright, clear Canadian-type weather, hardly a cloud in the sky, and we were able to sustain 55 miles an hour, which I had to be careful that the solar car wasn't going to run in the back of the lead van because I'm going the speed limit and he's right on my bumper. And it was a real thrill, though. The car went very, very fast. We finished 3rd that day, and it's exceptionally fast in good sunlight and not so good in the rain. I guess the downer for us was the 3rd or 4th day when we were going in Des Moines, and we got about 50, 60 miles out, and our batteries were dead, and we had about another 100 miles to go, and there was no sign of the clouds clearing, so we put it on the trailer and hauled it up to the fairgrounds. That day we lost a lot of time to the 4 people ahead of us because of the penalties associated with trailing your car. But good days, it was great. Cloudy days, well, no one likes to go 20 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. We were going actually at one point, solar car racing. It's like watching the grass grow and the paint dry. No fun at all.
On the last day of the race, the weather forecast called for clear and sunny skies. The system batteries had been fully charged the night before. The strategy team believed that this would be an ideal opportunity to race their vehicle at full capacity.
It was strange knowing we would never again work together as a team once this day was over. We had competed with the best and proven we had the right stuff. We really were a team and functioned together well. Yet each person knew that they had contributed as individuals to the project's success.
Now at the starting line from the University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland, the Pride of Maryland, number 2. Let's give them a round of applause. The Pride of Maryland is captained by Tony Nicolaitis, driven by Uncle Chu, Bob Nice Hair Radisovich, Wendell and Paul Hickey. The Pride of Maryland, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the Pride of Maryland is off. Let's wish him well and good luck.
When we were racing, generally the airflow over the array would keep the temperature down to a generally sufficient range. 25 degrees Celsius is like the standard. When we came to a stop sign or a stoplight, we had an interesting solution devised by I believe it was Kayvon or Matt from the pit crew. They purchased a super soaker and would stick out the back or stick out the window of the chase van and spray the array with the Super Soaker.
So we functioned efficiently. What was out of our control was the weather. And I think that the 6th place was a very admirable finish, and I'm glad we did it. And maybe we could have finished better if the weather was better, but there's no need to look back and say that now because the weather is out of our control. And I'm proud of the Pride of Maryland too. We have a lot of pride in that car, and every time I see it now, I consider it mine just as much as everyone else considers it theirs. There's a certain piece in that car that you really attach to, and it's just like your child, or just like, you did this and you built this from nothing, from zero, and then here you are watching it doing 55 miles an hour down the street. That's a pretty amazing feeling. And I look back now, and it's just one huge memory. And I guess as my life goes on, I'll look back on it, and it's something that I'm extremely glad I did.
And here they come, coming down the track, University